Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
Well, I want to thank you for keeping me company as I stay locked in my home for obvious reasons, because the temperature outside is ridiculous. Because I live in Florida. What was I thinking? I guess for some reason I thought I could escape. But you can't always escape. So, hey, welcome to the question and answer edition of the Talking Real Money podcast. This is what we do on Fridays for fun. We get together with you and I answer your questions. And you send them in at talkingrealmoney.com by going to the contact form, and then you record them on your computer or on your phone microphone. Get a good microphone. It's time for good microphones in this day and age. Good microphones. And by the way, just a little microphone tip for you. You know those microphones like the Yeti and things like that sit so low on your desk and you talk into them, but they're like 15 inches away? Find a way to get them a little closer to your mouth. Generally speaking, a mic should be no more than about 6 or 7 inches from your mouth and at a 45-degree angle so that it doesn't make these popping sounds. Well, this one has a pop filter, so it's hard to make it pop, but you can make the mics pop. So just an added tip, a bonus tip, as it were, in the Q&A edition of Talking Real Money. And you can also, if you have questions, you can type them at talkingrealmoney.com. Or on Saturdays, you can call us during our live broadcast on terrestrial radio from noon to 2 Pacific time or 3 to 5 Eastern time at 855-935-TALK, and that becomes the Tuesday or Wednesday podcast unless there's a holiday. I know, there are always caveats, aren't there? So, thank you for all those questions. A ton have come in. So that allows us to do a 5-question episode today. Let's start with our first of 5 questions.
Hello. At their births, we started UTMAs for our 2 kids, now 10 and 7, with the mindset that they may decide to not go to college. 4 years ago, we stopped contributing to those and started 529s instead, investing in target graduation date, 19%, and aggressive growth, 81%. The UTMAs still exist and are in AVUV, RECS, FBND, FIXD, QQQM, BUFR, IDMO, STIP, IJH, IUSV, ACWI, JAAA, SPYG, EDIV, OUNZ, and SEIX. The balances have not changed much since we stopped contributing. One is $4,800 and the other one is $7,900. Should we keep the UTMA balance or roll them into the 529s, especially with the new Roth benefit? Thanks.
That is the dizziest I have ever gotten from someone naming the securities in their portfolio. What in the world were you guys thinking? You have less than $13,000 in those uniform transfer to minors accounts in 15 different funds. 15? Were you a member of the Fund of the Month Club? Wow. Okay, let's get to your question. Legally, you can't move a uniform transfer to minors account, a UTMA account, to anything else except another security inside the UTMA, because a UTMA is considered to be an irrevocable gift to that child. Can't move it into a 529 because a 529 can then become someone else's. You take over control, in essence, which you can't do. You can make custodial decisions for the child in the child's best interest, but you can't move it into something that would allow you to, for example, give it to another kid. So, no, you can't do that. The UTMAs and UGMAs just continue on, and they have to, and then they become the kids at the age of majority, and that's the way the rules work. Luckily, there's not a lot of money. Now, what I would do is get a fund. Or if you want to go crazy, get two. I mean, these are for kids. Why not just an AV UV? Or if you want to be more conservative, an AVGE, which may be the better way to go. But all of those wild and wacky products in there, you got too much stuff. I hope this isn't coming from a broker, that this was your own, or an advisor or something, that these were your own decisions, because an advisor who puts you in that many products ought to be hung by his toes. Not hung dead, just hung and tortured a little. Annoyed. That's just crazy making. And smart move on the 529. I just keep funding 529s because again, they don't go to college. Trade schools work. They don't go to college. 35 grand can become a Roth IRA. The UTMAs are less valuable than they used to be, and even then they weren't all that valuable. So no, you can't move it. And simplify. This is too complicated. If it made my head hurt, it's going to make your kids' heads hurt. Call us on Saturdays at 855-935-TALK. Go to talkingrealmoney.com. Click on the button that says Contact Us. Speak your questions there, and I'll get them on Fridays. Or type them in, and we'll throw them in all over the place as Tom rummages through the paper. Let's go to the next question for this week.
Gentlemen, hoping you can help me out here. My wife and I are in our mid-40s, and we make about $350,000 per year. And just curious if you could steer us in the right direction. Both of our retirement plans through work are 403Bs with a Roth option. And just curious if we should start moving our money towards the Roth side of the 403B. Currently, we both contribute to the pre-tax version, and just curious if we should start moving some of that over. Appreciate your help. Thanks.
As with so many questions, the correct answer is, it depends. Maybe you should move it, maybe not. I love the idea of not trying to predict the future and having both types of accounts. But there really does need to be some tax planning done to make that decision more scientifically, more mathematically. Because what you have to do is go, let's see, is the tax, if all things are equal in the future, tax rates are the same, is the tax deduction worthwhile to me today? Am I in what is likely to be a higher earning bracket, a higher tax bracket today than I will be in retirement? And for many of us, the answer to that is yes, when we're in our high earning years. So if you had called me and you were younger, I would have said, Roth your brains out early on. Just Roth like crazy when you're in your early years earning and you're not making as much money. And then later on, when you get into maybe six-figure income, that's when you start looking at what your tax bracket is, and maybe I should have some regular non-tax-free or just tax-deferred investments. And it also gives you different pools to draw from. However, it's just not that big a deal. It really isn't likely to be in the long run. You can have more Roth and less non-Roth, or either way, it's likely to work out reasonably well because you made money either tax-deferred or tax-free, and if it was tax-free, then you didn't get a deduction to earn money on other money that would have gone to the government. So it's really complicated, and there is no absolutely correct answer. Thanks for the question, though, and let's get the next one.
Hi, Don. My deferred comp plan has just added a few new funds, one of them being PIMCO's PIMCO RAE US Small Fund, which is a small cap value fund. Its fees are 50 basis points and it contains only 221 stocks. Unfortunately, this is the only small cap value fund available. Would this be worth adding to my portfolio, which currently consists of 65% S&P 500, 15% Dow Jones completion, and 20% international? These three funds represent the only index-style funds available. Also, the only international index fund available at my works plan is FSGGX, which, according to the fact sheet, seeks to provide investment results that correspond to the total return of foreign, developed, and emerging stock markets. The fund is a low cost at only 6 basis points, but invests in a little over 2,000 companies. Compare this to Vanguard's VTIAX, which owns almost 8,500 stocks. It appears to track VTIAX very closely, starting in 2011 with $10,000 growing to $25,000 in FSGGX and $27,000 in VTIAX, or a difference of about $1,100 over 14 years. The rest of the international funds are non-index active funds with high expense ratios. Considering this is the only international index fund available, I feel this is as good as I'll get. Looking for your thoughts on this. Thank you.
Yeah, the Fidelity International, the FSGGX, is fine. It is a low-cost fund, and it's not as diversified as Vanguard, but it's pretty darn diversified. So, yeah, I would consider that in the portfolio. I would not get the PIMCO small cap value. Even though it's not one of PIMCO's most expensive funds, PIMCO is actively managed and it is more expensive. And this is where the rest of your portfolio comes in very handy. We believe that you should use your regular IRA, your Roth IRA, or even your just straight taxable brokerage account to add diversification that your retirement plan at work is missing. And you know where you're missing assets. You've really done your homework. You've gone through the portfolio. You found the decent index products. You realize you need small cap value. You may need some emerging markets. You may need some real estate down the road or something. But you can get those in your other accounts. Just overemphasize those because it's so important to remember that your portfolio is all of your accounts together. They are your portfolio. Each account doesn't need to be properly diversified across all the asset classes as long as the whole portfolio is properly diversified across all asset classes. So use what you have in the best place for it, given the choices. That's pretty much all there is to it. Thanks for the question. Thanks for the call. Thanks for going to talkingrealmoney.com and speaking your question. You can type them there, too. You can also call us on Saturdays at 855-935-TALK, 855-935-8255. And here's number 4.
I recently attended a dinner seminar where they were talking about using indexed annuities. I'd like to find out more from you, the details of why you don't think they're a good idea. Thank you.
As I was listening to your question, I knew at the pause I said, indexed annuities. That's what they seem to pitch at all of these dinner meetings. Why do you think the thing that these people push, when there are all these other investment opportunities available, most of which have, in aggregate, trillions of dollars invested in them, why do you think they're pitching a niche-y product that seems to promise something that, while it sounds so good, the return of the market with none of the risk, sounds unbelievable, too? Well, see, it's because these people who do this, now, they won't admit it to themselves, and they won't admit it to you or anybody else, but these people are unscrupulous liars. Because a lie by omission is a lie. A lie like you get the return of the market with none of the risk absolutely implies that you get the money that the stock market makes, and if it goes down, well, you don't lose any money. Well, what could be better than that? Give me some of that. Yeah. And again, I'm going to tell you what's wrong with them, but I mean, really think about it logically for a minute. If such a product existed, Tom and I have been at this for a combined 70 years. Why, with all of that experience, would we push a product or products or an investment philosophy that is simple and cheap when there's the perfect investment out there? You can invest your money and there's no risk. And, here's another one of their lies. And there's no cost to you. That's absolute baloney. Here's what the cost is. They don't give you the return of the market. They give you a portion of the appreciation in a particular wacky little index most of the time that they made up just to make sure they got one that worked the way they wanted it to work, with no track record. This is not the S&P 500 or the total market index. No. No, this is some other wacky index, and they give you a portion of the return from a particular point to a particular point, by the way, not over the whole term, but from point to point, with a participation rate. Well, okay, so we're going to cap it at this, and you only get X percentage of that. So after all the sneaky math goes on behind the scenes by the insurance company, the net result has consistently been an average annual return of somewhere between 3 and 5% per year for those who've actually invested in these products. Now, what's in it for the person? Are they giving you I've got one on the table downstairs for Ruth's Chris. That's a pretty good piece of meat, and it's not cheap. What's in it for them? Are they just giving you a nice fillet out of the goodness of their heart? These are the nicest people ever, and if they're doing it for you, for charity, why aren't they feeding starving kids in Africa or Gaza or somewhere, Is this I just want to feed my friends steak dinners? No, they're doing it because the commissions are gigantic. I've looked up so many of these firms, and even those who claim to have a fiduciary firm, a registered investment advisor, you'll find that the assets of their investment advisory firm are not nearly big enough to support the company that they're running and the money that they're spending, because the vast majority of what they do comes from the sale of indexed annuity products, which, by the way, can pay the person up there on the stage and his or her company up to 12% of the money you invest. Wow. If they can pay the agent 12%, 10%, or 9%, or even 8%, if they can pay them that much, how can they afford to give you the return of the market and eat all of the downside when the market tanks 50%? How can they afford to do that? They can't, because it's not true. It's just not real. It's a lie. And I can say it's a lie with absolute impunity, because I've been saying it's a lie for 15 years, 20 years. Because it is. It's a lie. And they won't put any of it in writing. Ask them, that person you talk to, how much they get paid. And they'll tell you, well, the insurance company just pays me for selling this. That's not true. You're incentivized to do it because it's a commission. They're just, I got to tell you, I think the lowest form of financial life on the planet are insurance investment salespeople. And if you're one of those people, please find honest employment. I am confident if you're any good at your job that there are a ton of truly 100% fiduciary investment advisors somewhere in your neck of the woods who would gladly hire you. It might not be as lucrative, but it's more honorable. You want to make a lot of money or do you want to be honorable? My guess is you want to make a lot of money, right? So, and by the way, another way they get that commission back, because remember, for them to make that big fat commission back, you have to stay in there for a long time so they can invest your money at higher rates than they're paying you. That's how insurance works. They've got to make more money than they're paying you or they're not profitable. Now, if you're only in their index annuity for a year, well, there goes their profit if you take all your money out because they just paid 12% to that guy on stage at the restaurant. So check them all out. They all have a surrender charge. Now, they'll say, well, that's just to help incentivize you to stay invested. No, that's to pay the insurance company back if you leave before they've made back the commission. It's funny. The surrender charge the first year is, in every instance I've ever looked at, really darn close to the commission up front. Wonder why that is. Yeah. Eat the steak, run away after. Never take the meeting because they're good at this. They're good at pressure. You like timeshare pitches? Well, this is more lucrative to the salesperson than a timeshare pitch. Be careful. One last question before we call it a Friday Q&A podcast, which is what it's called. And by the way, the quality of this call, there was something wrong with the way it was recorded. I have spent ages trying to get it improved. I improved it a little where it's at least it's listenable, but it may be a bit annoying. The reason I'm using it is because this is one of those kind of universal issues among parents, kids who are suffering through a crisis.
Hi, Tom and Don. This is Suzanne from Michigan. I'm hoping you can help with a current challenge. How do you suggest that I encourage or advise my adult daughter in her finances in future? Here's some background. She's 26, became divorced earlier this month. They weren't married for long, but they did buy a house that they recently sold for a small profit. He was the bigger earner by far. She makes what I think is a good wage at $40 an hour with occasional overtime opportunities. She's a hard worker and diligent saver with Roth, brokerage, and high-yield savings in the amount of about $100,000. She drives a 2015 Chevy Malibu that was paid for within the first year after she got it. She lives with me post-divorce. She's very down on her future, saying that she will never be able to afford to buy and maintain a home on her own, get a car when she needs one, and so on, unless she gets married again, because it would take two incomes to afford a home with how high prices are. She would like to get married, but isn't optimistic about her chances of getting married again. She'd like to do some fun things such as travel and possibly adopt or do IVF to have a baby if marriage doesn't happen. She's very negative and doesn't see a bright future for her because of the cost of buying and owning a home. She says this is a very common belief in her age group. It's really sad to hear all this. What would you tell her other than she's doing a great job with savings? Thanks so much for your input.
I would tell her, other than that, of course, that this is a tough time. And the key to making it through this tough time, and it will not, at the time, it seems permanent. It seems as if the situation will never get better. Well, I can guarantee it's going to get better in some way. I don't know what the way is, but I'm confident it will because you know, you've done it. I've done it. I've got 4 adult children. They've gone through crises and they've survived them. Sometimes it was rough, and sometimes the pain and the challenges and the negativity lasted for a long time. But generally, it doesn't last forever. And I think the key, one, she's saving for her future, which is great. I mean, I would tell her right there, you're saving for your future. You're going to be able to afford things. If nothing else, you have to wait till you get really old, but probably not. But she wants a lot of things right now because she wants to fill that hole that's missing. And I'm not a psychologist or a psychiatrist, but I get it. She's trying to fill that hole up. What she needs to do is make a list, prioritize. What is the most important thing right now? It's probably not jumping in and having a baby by yourself. There's plenty of time for that. That should be way down the list. Traveling, though, may be more important for your psyche, for your healing, and for your chances to meet somebody else than buying a house. I think owning a home is way overrated. And I think that our kids are too obsessed with it. Renting isn't a bad thing, particularly if you're trying to have a real life. Your home should probably just be the place where you lay your head. If you've got a job, you're working, that's where you spend a big chunk of your life. Then maybe you have a social life. I'm sure hoping you do eventually. That will take up a huge chunk of your life. Your house, your home, your apartment should be the place where your bed is and your food is. Deprioritize the house thing. I would kick that way down there with the baby thing. Yeah, you may need a house when you have a baby, although remember, a lot of people have been raised by parents who lived in apartments successfully. Priorities. That's really the key. Find the thing that is most important to you right now, the thing that will allow you to heal your brain while you're putting away money for your future so that your outlook is more positive. And once your outlook improves slightly, then usually good things follow that. But past that, patience. It's usually the cure for all kinds of emotional distresses, and divorce is way up that list, as she now knows. It's a painful process. She needs to get to know her. She really does. She needs to do something that makes her feel valuable and happy. That's what money's supposed to be for. And again, I other than, and there probably, I should have said this a long time ago because I am not one. There really should be some sort of counselor involved, somebody that she trusts, other than mom. Mom, you're lovely, but they don't listen to us as well as they listen to other people. Yet. Give her another decade. Anyway, thanks for the calls. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the great stuff that you always share with us. And please keep doing it. Just go to talkingrealmoney.com and you can speak a question. You can type a question. Or on Saturdays from 3 to 5 Eastern, you can call us with questions pretty much every Saturday at 855-935-8255. That's 855-935-TALK, T-A-L-K. Because we really do this because we love helping you. Tom and I have talked about this a lot. We're both at the age where we could retire. We could, but we don't want to because we like doing this. We really do. What would I do if I wasn't helping you? I'd be bored. I would. I'd enjoy doing some voice work, but I'd be bored. This is the most fun part of my life. So keep sending in those questions and keep listening. And I saw something online that said, somebody said, what's a good financial talk show? And the guy goes, well, Talking Real Money, but I don't know that I want everybody to know that. What? Yeah, the more the merrier. The more the better. We need more people listening because then we do it longer. So tell your friends that they should be listening on whatever podcast service they use to Talking Real Money.
The opinions and views expressed in this podcast were current on the date recorded. Opinions, estimates, forecasts, and statements of financial market trends that are based on current market conditions constitute our judgment and are subject to change without notice, including any forward-looking estimates or statements which are based on certain expectations and assumptions.
Although information and opinions given have been obtained from or based on sources believed to be reliable, no warranty or representation is made as to their correctness, completeness, or accuracy.
Information presented on the podcast is not personalized investment advice from Appella Wealth. The views and strategies described may not be suitable for everyone. This podcast does not identify all the risks, direct or indirect, or other considerations which might be material to you when entering any financial transaction. Past performance does not guarantee future results, and profitable results cannot be guaranteed. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for informational, educational, and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. The podcast is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Apella Wealth, a fee-only registered investment advisor.
Please see Apella Wealth's ADV Part 2A on our website for information regarding Apella's fees and services.
Apella Capital, LLC, DBA Apella Wealth, is an investment advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission. The firm only transacts business in the states where it is properly registered or excluded or exempt from registration requirements. Registration with the SEC or any state securities authority does not imply a certain level of skill or training. Apella does not provide tax or legal advice, and nothing either stated or implied here should be inferred as providing such advice. Thanks for listening, and please visit TalkingRealMoney.com for more information and important disclosure related to performance of any specific index or fund quoted in this podcast. I think I need a nap.